and it wouldn't happen if not for her. We are so grateful. And of course, I want to recognize most of all the 10 women of courage that we're honoring here today. These women come from all different corners of the globe. They have taken very different journeys to this moment. But they are all here today because somewhere along the line, they decided they could no longer accept the world as it is. And they committed themselves to fighting for the world as they know it should be. They saw corruption and they worked to expose it. They saw oppression and they worked to end it. They saw violence, poverty, discrimination, and inequality. And they decided to use their voices and risk their lives to do something about it. And day after day, these women have stood up and said the things that no one else could say or would say. Year after year, they endured hardships that few of us could bear. At the age of 22, Zinmar Aung was imprisoned for 11 years simply for writing a letter demanding that the elected civilian government take power in Burma. When she was freed, she went right back to work, fighting for the rights of women and ethnic minorities and political prisoners. Shad Begum founded a women's NGO in Pakistan, and she ran for district council. When she won, she intended to use her position to improve health care and education. But when the council met, she was forced to sit in a separate side room behind a locked door. The microphone that was supposed to allow her to participate never worked. But undeterred, she decided to run for an even higher elected office, saying, and this is her quote, "Whatever it takes, I will make them hear me." And then there is Janet Bedoya Lima, an investigative journalist in Colombia. Back in 2000, when she was writing about an arms struggling network, she was kidnapped, brutally assaulted for hours by those who wished to silence her. But instead of backing down, she moved from her regional newspaper to a national one. And despite continued threats against her life, she kept reporting. She became a spokeswoman for a global campaign against sexual violence. And for 12 years, she's fought to hold her attackers responsible for their crimes. She has even taken her case all the way to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, seeking justice not just for herself, but for women across her country. And that is why, despite the risks they face, despite the hardships they endure, these women carry on. Because they know that they are fighting not just for their own rights and freedoms, but for the rights and freedoms of so many others. That is why, despite daunting physical obstacles, Safak Kabe didn't just win a seat in parliament in her own country. She traveled to countries across the globe, winning support for the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. She lives her life by a simple motto. These are her words. Whatever you experience is an example to others. Whatever you experience is an example to others. The same can be said of Priscilla de Oliveira Acevedo. Despite being one of just a few women in the Rio de Janeiro military police, she has risen through the ranks, commanding more than 100 male officers. We love that. Working in one of the toughest communities in the city and even arresting a gang of criminals who kidnapped her. Women of all ages have been inspired by her leadership. And of them, she says, again, a quote, "They see me as an example of the fact that any woman can work in any type of activity. It's just a question of wanting to do it." And that is why each year we invite young people to join us at this event. It is so important because we want them to learn from and be inspired by the example of these women of courage. We invite them because we want to say to them and to boys and girls across America that if, despite all the obstacles these women of courage face, if they are still running for office and running organizations and serving their communities and their countries, then surely you can find a way to follow your dreams. Surely you can find a way to give back to your community and to your country. If these 10 women can endure death threats and horrifying violence and years behind bars to stand up for what they believe in, then surely our young people can find a way to stand up for what they believe in. Surely all of you can overcome the obstacles you face in your own life. And I'm thinking particularly of Jeneth Bedoya Lima and what she endured on that day 12 years ago. As her attackers assaulted her, they said to her, "Pay attention, we're sending a message to the press in Colombia." Well, today, with every story she writes and with every public appearance she makes, Jeneth is sending her own message that she will not back down, that she will not give up, and she will never, ever allow her voice to be silenced. And it is the same message that all of these women are sending with every act of courage they commit. The message that injustice will not stand, that inequality will not be tolerated, and that